I'm Ashley Vance. I'm a journalist and author. I've spent many years covering the rise of commercial space. When the first time I went to visit SpaceX, it was like a religious experience, sort of. It was just so different than what I expected. I expected to see like one rocket and like 20 people working on it, and I walk in and already, even in those pretty early days, there's all these rocket bodies along the floor. There were hundreds of people. There was like heavy metal music playing, people welding. You could just feel this energy, and it was so different to what I had pictured in my head, and it felt so real. Like one of these things where you're like, do people know that this is happening? There's this one level where SpaceX just had to prove things out and show people that commercial space could be real, and they did that with Falcon 9. It became this like steady launching vehicle. Still, even in traditional space, and the naysayers, they still thought SpaceX was a joke. They thought things like reusability would actually be the undoing of the company, that Elon would spend himself into oblivion trying to chase this both like impossible and pointless exercise.
Breakthrough that's needed with rocketry is a truly reusable rocket. You know, if we're to make a revolution in space, it's got to be reusable. If you think about any mode of transport, bicycle, plane, everything.
It's just too expensive to, have it disposed of.
Exactly. Yeah. And thus far, it's been an elusive dream in space to create a truly reusable rocket. This is tough.
Hey, I'm not an engineer, but I can tell that's complicated.
There was a launch of what was called the F9R, the F9 reusability. This was the early days before any rocket booster had come back to be reflown, and many in the industry thought it couldn't be done. And we were there. It was going to be a 3-engine test. They put in some new navigation system, and it went haywire, and the rocket sort of tilted over, and they had to do a detonate, and it just made this enormous kaboom because it was, pretty heavily fueled, and it spewed wreckage everywhere. Quite a scene. And I actually suggested to Elon, hey, let's go out there and look around. And as we're driving out, we get a call from someone who's quite nervous about this. And we decided to just keep going. And it was amazing. We're like seeing the aftermath of this, ambition that had a setback, right? And one of the other board members was trying to cheer Elon up and said something to the effect of, you're not learning if you're not failing, or something to that effect. He goes, considering the alternatives, I'd rather learn from success.
One of the hardest things I've ever had to do is get the liquid oxygen densification program running. So Elon coming in and saying, we're going to densify liquid oxygen to its triple point. I basically want solid oxygen on the rocket. Go make it happen. Only C I've ever gotten in my life was in thermodynamics. So of course I get handed a thermodynamics problem. And that tenacity to go turn that around and make that happen. If I wanted to go get sent out to NIST to go learn something, or go talk to some other expert halfway across the world, I was given those resources to go figure it out. The first densified propellant launch. It was impressive to know that everyone at that McGregor test site put so much work into that program. And the immediate thought was, it seemed impossible and daunting, but it was way more exciting to know that we just completely changed the way people think about launch.
If you fast forward, once Falcon 9 starts to hit its stride, then they start landing the thing all the time. They're getting up to Falcon Heavy and even like larger version of this. And the whole landscape has been flipped on its head. This thing that was supposed to be impossible clearly works. Traditional aerospace is like still reacting to this. I mean, they had no backup plan from anybody else, and they're still 10, 15, 20 years behind because they haven't even started to design a competitor. And then if you flip to new space, these new economics are locked in everybody's head that can and should approach this all differently than we used to.
SpaceX raised $1 billion in 2015. That exceeded all prior venture investment in the space category throughout all the time, times 2. And from that point on, billions of dollars have been invested every year in the category. All kinds of new launchers and satellite companies just cropped up everywhere. Hundreds of companies cropped up.
I would interview all these people, and they had all grown up watching the Apollo program, and this had been part of their childhood. It had fed their enthusiasm, their interest in engineering, and that had just been killed over the years of space really not changing. And all that energy, that passion was unlocked because there was a new game in town, and commercial space felt real, and everyone wanted to have a crack at it, and I wanted to watch.